Yes, guys, what's going on? Make sure you head over to stretfordpaddock.bigcartel.com. Check out all the new merch. Remember, members get 10% off. Go and do it now. See you later.
Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is Stretford Paddock Live. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, colleague, and friend, Joe Smith. How are we doing, brother?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you?
Not too bad, man. It feels like ages since we've done a video together.
It does. Only this afternoon, I think it was, wasn't it?
Been at least 2 hours. That was the live preview we did. We'll be looking a little bit about the Real Sociedad game. Obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been talking to the press ahead of that. He's made some interesting comments as well about a certain Norwegian striker. I wonder who that could be. We'll also be looking at some other targets we've been linked with. Kingsley Coman, there's a bit of an update on there. A bit of an update as well on Andre Silva, a name that keeps popping up lately. We'll be looking at some of the other players at United as well who aren't in the team or aren't in the squad as much, who may be getting moved on. And also what some of the leading journalists are saying about our prospects of signing either Erling Haaland or Jadon Sancho, or neither. Should we start off with a bit of Andre Silva?
Yeah, go with Andre Silva. Who's Andre Silva?
Andre Silva, I'm glad you asked me that, Joe.
Thank you.
He's a footballer.
I'm glad I asked as well, actually.
In 1995, who plays for Eintracht Frankfurt.
Oh, yes.
Now, he's been linked with United for, it may be a bit longer, but he came on my radar about 3 weeks ago. I think Maka had it in one of his late night transfer updates where he was saying that Andre Silva had been linked with United, and I was like, really? I know he's been banging him in Germany, but he was sort of a player that hadn't been heavily linked with us, so you didn't expect it, because all the focus had been obviously on Jadon Sancho and Jack Grealish and Erling Haaland, so this one seemed a bit unlikely. Yeah. But the story's doing the rounds here that Manchester United have been offered him by Jorge Mendes, who was the sort of super agent wanted until Mino Raiola. He was like who's the guy that used to be the transfer guru?
Oh, Di Marzio.
He's like Di Marzio.
Yes.
And Raiola's like Fabrizio Romano, isn't he? He's like, came in and gone, I'm the new
See you later.
big spuds.
Yeah.
But Jorge Mendes, obviously, still a massive agent. He's been talking about it, or he's been offered Andre Silva, his client, to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as a replacement, a longer-term replacement for Edinson Cavani. Now, looking at Andre Silva and looking at his numbers, 16 goals in 37 appearances in all competitions last season. You know, okay, decent in the Bundesliga. This season, though, 20 games in the Bundesliga, 18 goals.
Very good.
I mean, that's tasty, isn't it?
It is a very good return, but it's almost worryingly good, really, because the Bundesliga is so hit and miss for me, and you just always think, is it real? Does it matter? Because, and I don't know how this affects goal scoring, I don't know the details and the depths of the statistics on this, but no matter how many goals you score for these clubs, they never win anything. Like Dortmund, you look at Haaland, we'll talk about him later, I think he's a great player. I think he's potential to be one of the best in the world. They've got all these great players. Marco Reus, everyone loves. They've got Sancho, they've got Witsel, they've got Haaland, they've got...
Witsel?
You go through the team and name all these great players. They've got everyone wants a Kanji from there. Hummels, who's been a great centre-back. They win fuck all. And Frankfurt win even less. And I know it's not just about winning trophies. It's like, you're no good if you didn't win any trophies. I'm not saying that whatsoever. But the Bundesliga, because it's so skewed and it's so biased towards Bayern. I mean, they've done that work themselves. I'm not saying that it's some unfair advantage they've got, but like, does any of it matter? Do the stats matter at all? Because it's all teams who never win anything scoring goals against teams who never win anything. Like, at least in England, if you score 25 goals, you probably had to score against, Chelsea or Leicester or United or City or even Tottenham. I mean, they haven't won anything for a while, but like, obviously, and Liverpool as well, but in Germany, it's like Henrik Mkhitaryan got 30 assists one year. Yeah. And you're like, it doesn't matter. And I'm not saying this guy's no good, but I just think the fact that he's got 30 goals in 45 league games or legway games, as we've written it.
Don't start me on the Portugal international.
Yeah. The fact that he's got those stats impressed me in the sense that, you have to get them. Not everyone gets them. But I can never judge it from the Bundesliga, and I don't think anyone can. Like, the hit rate from the Bundesliga is so off and on. It's so weird. You can get someone that turns out to be Kevin De Bruyne, or you can get someone that turns out to be Henrik Mkhitaryan, who is a quality player, but never set the world alight the way he did in Germany. I mean, this guy, I think he's played in Italy before this. He looks like a decent player. I'd have him at United if he's deemed to be the right guy, but I'm not going to get all sweaty in the trousers for 30 goals in 45 games
can I just
for Frankfurt.
pick up on that? You said he's been in Italy.
Yes.
And he has, you're right.
Thank God.
And his
I can't slag him off and not know who he is.
His record in Italy, AC Milan, was 24 games, 2 goals. In the league, in Serie A. And then for the total that season, it was 40 games in all competitions and 10 goals. The next season, I think he more or less moved on. That's when he moved on after 1 game. So it's a bit of a miss because you can look at it, you can go, well, okay, Bruno Fernandes didn't set Serie A alight. Players get better, obviously, and they kick on a little bit. But like you say, it is such an unknown entity. Shinji Kagawa looked amazing at Dortmund. Elite. And I like Shinji Kagawa, who's a decent player for Manchester United, but he wasn't anywhere near the levels he was for Dortmund.
No.
That he didn't bring that to United, despite his hat-trick games with Norwich.
Yeah.
So you have to sort of be wary of when you see these players who haven't done it consistently in the Bundesliga. They've done it for like 1 or 2 seasons. It's like, is that can we rely on that as an indication of how good they are? Someone like, we'll get to him in a little while, but Erling Haaland is obviously a phenomenon. You can tell that, not just for what he does in the Bundesliga, or what he does in the Champions League.
Yeah.
You can see that with Jadon Sancho. He's young, and what he does, what he's done the last couple of seasons has shown that. But when you've got a player like that who's struggled in other countries, gone to the Bundesliga, starts banging him in, I think you need to sort of be a little bit cautious. Do get involved in the comments. Let us know what you think of Andre Silva. Also, as well, hit the like. Give us a like if you're watching. Well, if you're watching, obviously. Give us a like. Because, we've only got 65 likes and there's over 600 people watching.
Yeah.
That is a disgrace.
Would you go as far as to say that all that glisters isn't silver?
I was waiting for the silver pun.
Thanks.
I thought you'd gone straight in, but you waited, didn't you?
Well, it's a gold-silver thing. I just like the word glister.
Glister?
Yeah, it's very underused, I think. I mean, I think it's an old word that is it's trapped in that phrase, really. People say glitters, but it's
not what glistens. What's that?
Glisten is another word.
Oh, right, but that's glister.
Glister, all that glisters was the original, yeah.
All that glisters. That's like the Prince song, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everybody wants the silver, it's already been sold.
That's all.
Even at the centre of a fire, there is
some old bird.
Exactly. So
no, what is it? Even at the centre of the fire,
is it coal?
No, you can't set me up for a punchline that you don't even know.
No, that's what he said. It's not a punchline. It's the song.
Even at the centre of a fire
there is coal. I mean, is that what he says, or is it gold?
Welsh miner.
All that glitters ain't gold. You know what I'm on about. Someone out there will do.
You got it wrong.
I got it wrong. Right, fine, whatever. Should we talk about
I'm
injuries?
not saying you got it wrong. I'm saying he got it wrong. Let's talk about injuries. I can't wait to talk about Haaland.
Well, you're gonna have to. Right.
Go on then.
Never mind about Haaland. I want to talk about Cavani's injuries.
We've got Haaland at home.
Yeah, right?
And there's a picture of Tony Marshall.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
As you can see from the graphic, Cavani, Van der Beek and McTominay are still out. They're out for the Real Sociedad game.
Here's one for you, Jay.
Go on.
I bet... I'm just thinking how to phrase it. I bet Ollie didn't even know Van der Beek was injured because he never bloody picks him anyway.
McTominay's out as well, as I mentioned, and also Cavani. I mean, for the Sociedad game, we're 4-0 up. It's not the end of the world, is it? We're missing a few players, especially one, as you hilariously pointed out, doesn't play that often.
Was it?
Like Van der
Was it hilarious? He's got 27 appearances for United this season. Shithouse. I don't get that. And I'm never injured.
I know, and you're just as good as him. The one out of those, Cavani, McTominay and Van der Beek, obviously, it's Van der Beek who you probably, I don't know, feel a little bit sorry for because he could do with a game, and this would have been a game he probably would have played, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think he would have played last week as well, and he would have probably... Well, he might not have played last week because we didn't know quite the time it was going to be. But he certainly would have started, I'm sure, tomorrow if he was fit. It's a shame for him that he's not fit. But, players get injured, don't they? And it's unfortunate that we've got 3 midfielders out at the same time. Pogba, obviously, is not mentioned on there. It sort of goes without saying that he's going to be injured till the end of the month at least. Pogba, McTominay and Van der Beek all injured at once isn't really... We've got 2 midfielders, is basically what I'm trying to say. We've got Matic and we've got Fred, and that's pretty much it. So it's borderline concerning. Luckily, neither of those tend to get injured very often. But if one of them does, we're going to really struggle for midfielders. I mean, hopefully McTominay will be back and Van der Beek may well be back in that time as well. But, it's a little bit of a bit touch and go in midfield, isn't it? And that, again, what the problem that you get with that is, because we've got 3 midfielders injured, we can't really rotate tomorrow night. So I'm guessing it's going to be Fred and Matic, I think it was Galbraith who's been added
you mentioned him,
to the Europa League squad. He might start maybe just to give someone a change, but I don't think we're going to be playing all the under-23. So we'll see who plays tomorrow. But we're just on the edge of being in a bit of trouble, aren't we, in midfield, especially with the big game coming up
like
at the
you
weekend.
say, we are a bit threadbare, and obviously it's a massive game this weekend against Chelsea. Thankfully, we've the tie's pretty much done.
Yeah.
If you were going into this game and it was 0-0 or it was in the balance, you'd be a bit sort of a little bit more concerned, but I think the fact that we have got that cushion, like you mentioned there, Ethan Galbraith, who we'll get onto in a minute, is an option for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And I think if you were to play him or bring him on or whatever alongside someone like Fred or Nemanja Matic, then you'd probably get away with that one, I think. So like we say, bit of a shame for Van der Beek, Cavani and McTominay. I mean, if we needed to win this game, you'd want both of them to play because they've both been playing really well this season.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that it's, like I said, that 4-0 cushion, I mean, come on. We should be able to survive without either of those two and without Van der Beek, but we'll have to wait and see. Josh Scully is just asking in the chats, Joe, which current United player would you invite round for dinner?
For dinner?
Yeah, that's far I'd have thought I'd read that. It's quite an interesting question.
Decent question. I mean, just to have a chat with him, either Pogba or Rashford, I think. I think Pogba. He seems like a good laugh, doesn't he?
So Marcus Rashford just goes out and feeds all the kids in England and you're not even around for dinner.
He's probably...
What a selfish, horrible individual you are. He's feeding millions, you can't even give him a bit of your shepherd's pie. I'm ashamed to know you. I'm ashamed to claim you.
Yeah, poor Pogba, he seems to laugh. He does though, doesn't he?
Mate!
Like, who are you going to actually have a laugh with? I know
Eric Bailly's my choice, mate.
No.
Eric Bailly would probably turn up and just, 2-foot your table across the kitchen or wherever you've got your table set up.
Who would yours be then? Rashford? You're 20 years older than him, you big weirdo. You should pick Lee Grant.
Lee Grant would look like looking in the mirror, wouldn't it?
You and Lee...
Do you reckon if Lee Grant wore my clothes and just walked to me, I'd give him my keys and go, just walk in and say hello to my kids.
Walk in and hug my wife.
Do you reckon anyone would notice? Hey, Daddy, look what I did today. And then we'll go, hang on a minute, you're not Daddy.
Dad, why are you a foot taller than you?
That's the only thing, innit? He's a lot taller than me. Yeah, that's the only difference.
You do look a bit like Lee Grant. I've never noticed that
between me and Lee Grant, other than the fact that he's a much more physically apt specimen than I am, but I am losing weight. That's another story we'll get into. Right, let's talk about Dean Henderson talking about goalkeepers.
All right.
No, actually, let's talk about David De Gea. I've got that the wrong way round. Thank you. Thumbs up there by producer Cameron. 3 clubs are interested in David De Gea. Now, this is a weird one, right? Because David De Gea, who he isn't really setting the world alight at United at the minute, before anyone loses their minds, I know he's been a fantastic servant for Manchester United Football Club. But his form over the last
2 years.
Thank you, said it. Hasn't been great. His form this season hasn't been great. He's on massive money. So you may think, he might struggle to get a new club. Well, have you seen who's interested in him? Or has he been linked with him?
Yeah.
Go on.
Juve, Real Madrid, PSG, Bayern Munich.
Like, 3 of the biggest and best clubs in the world.
Yeah.
Oh, it sounds like he's having a right drama there, doesn't it? It looks like those clubs are interested in him. And this sort of ties in with what we're going to get to in a minute with Dean Henderson. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does have to make a decision, not this season, but next season, over who his number 1 is going to be. Dean Henderson apparently not happy to be number 2 for the foreseeable, well, for long term. He wants a bit of more assurance. He wants to be number 1. David De Gea, who obviously is number 1, he could be on his way out if Ole does decide to go with Dean Henderson. And it looks like he'll have his pick of the cream of Europe almost there. I mean, Paris Saint-Germain have got Keylor Navas, is that right?
Keylor Navas, yeah.
Juventus have got Wolczek Szczesny
and Buffon.
And Buffon, and Bayern Munich.
I mean, Szczesny, can we not, for a second, fucking Szczesny, right? We all saw him at Arsenal. Yeah. I know he was young, but then he's gone to Juventus and won leagues. Like, we know that Szczesny is an average goalkeeper. We saw that for 100 games at Arsenal.
Yeah.
And then you go and you look, he's won 4 fucking Serie A's in a row at Juventus. Come off it. Just like, I know that, we don't need a goalkeeper. They need a goalkeeper. They've got Buffon, who, let's be honest, has been dragging his heels into the retirement home for 3 years. Let's be truly honest here. He cost PSG that game against Man United. That wasn't anyone else on the team. That was Buffon's fault. He's been a great goalkeeper, but even in De Gea's weak times, he's better than Buffon is now. And he's better than Szczesny will ever be. Like, I'm not saying, you got to sign him because he's better than what you've got. But if they want to improve their goalkeepers, David De Gea would certainly do that. There's no question about that. Buffon is a legend. He is a legend. He's 71. He's 71 years old. Like, come on. I just think if they want him, it'd be a good move for them. Bayern Munich, I'm not sure how old Neuer is, but I'm guessing
34.
He's well into his 30s now. They could maybe do someone else. I think De Gea's 30, isn't he? And then obviously PSG, Keylor Navas is getting on a bit. Is also a decent goalkeeper. I don't think a real top-class goalkeeper. But again, the problem is going to have at all of those clubs, certainly at Bayern Munich and certainly at PSG, maybe less so at Juventus just because of the way they play, is that it's the same problem he has at Manchester United now, which is we don't need a really good shot stopper. I mean, they need to be a very good shot stopper, but we need someone who controls the box, who cuts out counter-attacks, which is what, funnily enough, Neuer does quite perfectly at Bayern Munich, or did do through most of his career. We need someone who commands and understands that we're not going to be a team that sits on the edge of our own box, allowing shot after shot after shot like we used to do under Jose, or we did to a lesser extent under Louis van Gaal. We're a team that holds a lot of the ball and we get counter-attacked. I think we had 73% possession, something insane.
No, we did, yeah.
And it's like, we just didn't see that before. And even in Ollie's first season, we didn't see that as much. And one of the reasons we've been caught out defensively as a defence, not just as a goalkeeper, is because we're defending running back to goal a lot more than we ever used to.
Yep.
We're defending running back to goal and we're defending from set pieces. And De Gea isn't particularly good in either of those situations. He's not really great at coming out and clearing the ball out. He's decent in one-on-ones, but he's really not very good at claiming the ball from set pieces. And as long as they are the main ways we concede chances, we don't need a goalkeeper with the exact skill set of David De Gea. And he's a great goalkeeper, and he can make do and he can look decent in those in this sort of team for a while. But again, there's a handful of games you can call to mind immediately. The Newcastle goal the other day, the Maguire one, there's a great clip on Twitter where it's comparing Henderson against Sociedad and De Gea against Newcastle. And it's not the exact same place, but, sort of 10 yards from outside the box, a looping chipped ball to the back post. Both of the balls were dealt with on the 6-yard line. One was dealt with by Henderson, who comes out and claims it comfortably. The other was dealt with by Harry Maguire, who did a shit header. Let's not, take any blame off of him, who did a shit header out to St. Maximin, who puts it in the back of the net. But if De Gea comes and gets that 6 yards out, then that chance is dealt with. The Leipzig game, another one where the ball just comes across all the way across the 6-yard line. And by the time the ball is put in the centre of the goal, De Gea's only 4 yards out. The Everton games, the Southampton games, the West Ham game, the Sheffield United game, you can point to just a lot this season where it's really cost us. And not that Henderson would have stopped every single one of those goals, but if you stop a couple, we might still be in the Champions League. We might not have lost that game to Sheffield United. We might not, these things make a big difference in the snowball effect that individual results can have, especially important ones like the Leipzig game, can be massive for a season. And I just don't quite think we need someone like David De Gea at the moment.
No, I agree with a lot of what you're saying there. I think since Spurs away at Wembley, where he had that absolute worldie, he's not looked right. And, you listed a load of games there, sort of from this season, the previous season, but you can go back even further. You look at, in the Nou Camp against Barcelona, he had a stinker. In the derby against City, he had a stinker. Against Watford, against Crystal Palace. There's been so many incidents. And the thing with David De Gea is, for about 4 years, you could count on one hand the amount of mistakes he made. Yeah. And now it's like every week almost, there's something else. And yes, I know he's borderline on sort of, you could debate whether he's almost a club legend, the amount of Player of the Year awards he's won, and the fact that he's been our one player who in our dark times you could say would walk into anyone else's team. There's probably not been anyone else you could have said that about in sort of from 2016 to 19 or whenever. But you have to look at the here and now, and it's costing us. We're hemorrhaging points because, not like you said, not just the shot stopping stuff, which is it hasn't been as sort of reliable as it used to be, but this thing about commanding your area, and I wonder whether that's in the defenders' minds as well, because Harry Maguire does seem a bit different defender when he's got David De Gea behind him than he does when he's got Dean Henderson. When he's got Dean Henderson behind him, he looks a lot more confident.
Yeah.
And he's turning, he plays the ball back to him a lot more. He's further up the pitch, which is where Ollie likes to play him. And then you see sort of when De Gea's there just seems to be this nervousness.
Yeah.
I don't know, I mean...
Like the header that he does against Newcastle, I'm not blaming De Gea for the header that Maguire did because it was a shit header. But he's backtracking, running backwards, heading the ball out from 5 yards. It's 5 yards out. If the goal... I went and watched that clip that was put on Twitter and slowed it down and got sort of frame by frame through it. When the ball is played in against Sociedad, Henderson's in there. He's what looks to be 4 yards out, certainly more than halfway to the 6 yard line. Yeah. When the ball is kicked, when the ball, and so that's when the ball's kicked and he comes out the extra 2 yards or whatever and gets the ball. With De Gea against Newcastle, when the ball lands at the 6 yard line, let alone when it's kicked, De Gea's 1 yard off his line. Like, the starting position's different, everything's different, the mindset is different. Is the ball going into the 6 yard box? And if so, it's mine. Yeah. Whereas with De Gea, that's not the mindset, and he has done great things for the club. And like you said, for such a long time, he was our only genuinely world-class player. He kept us in so many games, but he doesn't really even get the chance to produce those 6, 7, 8 save games like he used to because we don't play like that. We don't absorb pressure like that anymore. No. It's so rare that a team has 7, 8 shots on target against us. It just doesn't happen as much anymore.
I mean, against Everton, they had 3 and all 3 went in.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know that doesn't tell you...
2 and they scored 1.
Yeah, that doesn't tell you the whole story because you can have 3 amazing shots, but it's not great. And I think I read somewhere that other than Rui Patricio, his sort of shot to save ratio is the worst in the Premier League. For players that have played over 20 games or whatever, the keepers that have played over 20 games, not having the best of times. Obviously, we know he's got it in him. He's just, I think he needs to find some consistency and he needs to do it soon because, like I say, you pointed out those drop points. I mean, if you just say, okay, even if he's cost us 4 or 5 points this season, that's the difference between the title race looking more or less done and us still being in with a fighting chance of it.
And to be clear, not all of the points we dropped in any of those games I mentioned, and we didn't drop points in all of them. I'm just talking about individual points in those games. Not all of those mistakes were his fault. Not all the goals were his fault, or the goals that even he had a role or a fault in, they weren't all his fault. But when you're trying to improve different areas in a team, you can't shy away from criticising someone just because they were good a couple of years ago. Ollie in particular, we as fans can have a bit of rose-tinted glasses on sometimes, and that's fair enough. But when Ollie's looking through this team, he can't be going, De Gea was good 4 years ago under...
Not if he wants to keep his job. He can't. That's not how... Obviously, that's not how it's going to work. If that was how it worked, then Jesse Lingard would still be in the team. Yeah. And on that front as well, Dean Henderson, who apparently, this has been reported in a few papers, he's sort of saying that he's not happy to be number 2, as I mentioned earlier, and that he wants to move on. And like David De Gea, he's got suitors as well. There's clubs that are supposedly interested in him, looking at him, other Premier League clubs. I read somewhere that Chelsea were in for him, but I think producer Cam was saying that's not going to happen because they've got Mendy. I think West Ham might be looking at him. Oh, there you go. You see Tottenham and Borussia Dortmund, two of the sides leading the race to sign Dean Henderson this summer. Henderson, 23, he's under contract at United until 2025, and he's valued at around 40 million. Goalkeepers, I mean, such short supply, really good goalkeepers. And if Dean Henderson, say, went to Tottenham and tore it up, that'd be a disaster, that. Yeah. It really would, because you've seen how many clubs have struggled with goalkeepers over the years, and they've rotated goalkeepers and it's cost them points, and the goalkeepers come in and they've gone and they've moved them on or whatever, and it's it's ended up being the difference between them getting top 4 or not, or having a title challenge or not or whatever. And if we were to give someone who is roughly our rival, Spurs, especially if we're still sort of kicking around at top 4 place, and give them a big boost, it's one of the reasons I think Romero didn't go to Everton. Was because we were like, hang on a minute, Everton are looking pretty tasty this season, we're not going to help them.
If we have a bad year, we might be fighting for 6th. We've seen a handful of times in the last 10 years. Yeah, the last thing you want is to strengthen a rival or a potential rival.
So, I mean, if there was a swap deal involved, if we give that, I'd tell you what, we give Dortmund Dean Henderson, they give us Sancho and Haaland. Yeah. Does that seem like that?
That seems fair, doesn't it?
What about, they could throw in a bit of money, obviously.
Yeah, they give us Sancho, Haaland and 25 million.
Right, I'll probably go for that. Yeah. But other than that...
That was like a proper little duo joke, that, wasn't it? that was like, not walking away, Ant and Deck. Like a sort of, Ant and Deck.
And do you know what? We didn't even rehearse it.
No.
Ad-libbing.
The one we rehearsed was filth. Unairable, wasn't it?
Thought we weren't going to talk about that.
Okay, sorry.
I made a suggestion. You didn't like it. Let's move on.
We can't just let him leave, though, can we?
No, God no. Do you know what? As well, I think Dean Henderson fits in all his ethos because he's been at the club since he was a kid.
Yep.
He's gone away and proven himself at Sheffield United in the Premier League. Probably the best goalkeeper in the Premier League for a season, or one of them.
Yeah, right up there with Ederson and Alisson.
Yeah. But you look at the level he was at, he was like, and obviously getting tested a lot at Sheffield United because it wasn't like they weren't sort of under the cosh for most of those games. Does well, comes back, and you think, okay, all he gives youngsters a chance, he gives players from the academy a chance. This guy's proven himself, but there's only that one spot in there. That's the issue, and you've also got someone who, as we've mentioned, has been ultra reliable and a superstar for certain parts of the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So it is a bit of a funny one. Personally, I think it's time for Dean Henderson. I know people are going to go, you've got a short-term memory, Jay, haven't you? I love David Hay and I love what he's done for us, but as we've said, you can't keep dining out on what you used to do.
No.
I mean, we'll probably get into it a little bit later, but I love Anthony Martial, but I'm worried about him. And we can't keep saying, well, he got 23 goals last season and he scored that last-minute winner against Everton in the FA Cup semi-final. Do you know what I mean? There comes a time when you have to say, is this detrimental to the football team?
And especially when the other teams that we're battling against, namely Manchester City, are so ruthless with signings. Like, we've talked about it so many times. I mean, John Stone for a long time was an example of a player that was essentially replaced at City. Now he happens to have come back in the team. But you look at the centre-backs that have been signed in the last handful of years, the defenders. You've got Mendy, barely plays. You've got Otamendi, barely plays. You've got, I mean, Stones for a long time barely played. Now he's come back in, but they were willing to have a £50 million centre-back on the bench for a season and a half. They've got, all sorts of players who've been in there that don't work. They've got Bravo they brought in, now doesn't play. They brought another goalkeeper in on top of that. Like, we've got this thing in our heads where it's like, well, Hay was good, he'll come good again. Well, we haven't really got time to hope he comes good again. And that's what I'm saying. And even if he does, is he the type of goalkeeper we need to play the type of football that this manager wants?
Do you know, it's a really good point because, like you said, I was sitting at Joe Hart was a similar age to David De Gea when Pep said, I don't fancy you anymore. Yeah. And if you looked at it, Joe Hart had won, I think, was it 2 titles out of the last 4 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Was a bit of a City legend, if we're being brutally honest. Again, was around 30 or whatever, wasn't past it. He was pretty young for a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Didn't seem to be any issue there. It was like, well, Joe Hart's sort of nailed on. He's England's number one and he's City's number one. Yep. And then Pep was like, no, he doesn't fit into what I want to do. And Joe Hart's almost fallen off a cliff, hasn't he? He's his form. Is he still
He's back up at Tottenham?
Tottenham, as backup to Hugo Lloris, who's hardly perfect.
Yeah.
So it is a bit of a strange one. Just in the chat, Christopher Singh says, can I unblock him on Twitter for saying the 91 Cup final, the 91 Cup Winners' Cup was a fluke? I don't think I blocked you. I don't block many people. I usually mute them. No, I don't think I've blocked. I've blocked a few, like Loza Fox and just right-wing people I can't be doing with. Not that they follow me, I just block them because I can't.
They get shared on your.
Yeah, and I can't be doing with seeing just nonsense
sometimes
about
even
the government's vaccine or whatever. Right, bore off, or wokeism's killing the country. Well, it's not, is it?
Even when people are quote retweeting something to have a go at it, I still don't want to read it.
I know, I don't.
Half the time.
It's just life's too short, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we're just getting angry. I'm like, what's this? Yeah. So I'm sorry, Christopher Singh, if I've blocked you. Just put your Twitter name in there. I don't think I blocked you for that.
A bit more on Henderson quickly before we do move on.
No, a bit more on Christopher Singh being blocked for the 99 Cup Winners' Cup final.
Do you agree with that?
You know my thoughts. Go on.
I just think we need to give him a chance, and I think he is being given a chance as well. He's played a decent amount of games this season.
Yes.
He's not going to get 60, 70 games before we have to decide.
No.
He's going to get maybe 20 if we do well in plenty of competitions.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be the case, and I like Dean Henderson. I think he offers a lot more of what I think United need as a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
But if he's not good enough, if we do play him 10, 15, 20 times a season, depending on how we do in the FA Cup and the Europa League, and who knows, he might end up being the first choice keeper toward the end of the season, who knows? If he's not good enough, that doesn't mean you go, we'll stick with De Gea then, I guess, if Henderson couldn't replace him. We get someone else who's even better than both of them.
You saying there's a third option?
Like, it just annoys me. It's like, well, why risk losing De Gea for Henderson, who's never proved it at a big club? There's a big difference between Sheffield. All right, if he's not good enough, we get someone else who is good enough, because that's what I'm saying about.
That we get a player that's good enough for that position at Manchester United.
Exactly, Jay.
That's a stupid.
This
talk.
thing of being, there's a difference between, well, not a difference, but we need to realise that when other teams are being ruthless and not necessarily wasteful, but certainly City are not holding back in terms of spending money to get out of a problem.
No.
United have to be more like that because, as we've seen, you can talk about where their money's come from and where United made it themselves and the Glazers and all this sort of stuff. And I know that they're going to come in the way of some of this spending, but we've seen that spending a lot of money wins trophies. And it just does, because all the teams that win the most trophies spend the most money. And if Man City are consistently replacing mistakes and spending a lot of money, they're going to be hard to catch up unless we do something similar. So, yeah, if it's not De Gea and it's not Henderson, then it can still be someone else. And I don't think we have to think, well, Henderson's not quite good enough, so give it De Gea for another 2 years.
No, I completely agree, and I think, like you say, you don't have to be so narrow-minded that you think it's only those two that are the options. I know there's been some sort of golf puns going on, hasn't there, in the comments as well, because every time I look at the comments, there's all sort of Donny van der Bogey and all sorts going on there. So I'll leave you guys. So I think we've got Alex Baggers and Ronaldo Brown, the famous Ronaldo Brown, in the chat as well.
Good lads.
Yeah, so I'll let you guys...
Bloody good reps. Bloody good reps, both of them. What's our next story then, Jay? We've got to get through these. Man City are winning 2-0 in Germany.
Who cares? Anyone who cares about Champions League is deluded. It's all about Europa.
Yeah.
Right, Ethan Galbraith.
Etihad's in the glad rags, said before. So it's all like handbags in the glad rags. Sorry, Etihad in the glad batches. Borussia Mönchen.
Do it again, go on.
Instead of handbags in the glad rags, there's a song.
Oh, yeah, from The Office.
By Travis.
Yeah.
It's Etihad's and the glad batch.
Is that Travis? I thought it was Stereophonics. Is it Travis?
It might be Stereophonics, yeah.
We need to know these things.
No,
That's interesting.
Go on then, United had Ethan Galbraith, the Europa League squad.
Yeah, well, you've said it. That's the story.
Do you think he might play tomorrow, though? Because we've said about the midfield.
David Pritt and myself were sat down doing a bit of an academy review, which will be out in the morning. And David was quite adamant that he wanted to see in the Galbraith start. He wanted to see him, well, he said at least feature. He said he deserved his chance. Obviously, with the midfield issues we've got in terms of the injuries that we've already been over, that he felt now was the time, especially with a 4-goal cushion. Give him time. He thinks he's ready. He thinks he can do a good enough job. Doesn't see an issue with him playing against Sociedad at all. And I think that it would be nice for him. And he says, I think he played in Galbraith. Didn't he play in Kazakhstan? Yeah, when we played Astana, when we just took Lee Grant and Jesse Lingard and all the children. But this would obviously be not a better opportunity, but it'd be around more first-team players this time round, because last time it was like a Resi's game, wasn't it? So this would be a great opportunity, and I would not be complaining if I saw him in the starting lineup.
No,
I really wouldn't.
I'd be well happy. I'd be really up for that. And the question, as respectfully as possible, that Ollie, I'm sure, is asking or thinking is, how, not necessarily weakened, how much can I change this team and not lose 5-0? That's basically the question. Or essentially, how much can I change the team and not lose 3-0? Let's not make it risky. Yeah. That's the question he's asking, the formula he's sort of trying to work through, isn't it?
Yes.
Because people need a rest, and all we have to do is not concede 5.
Just don't
that's it.
5.
So, can Galbraith fit into that formula? I would guess he probably can, if he's alongside Matic or Fred or whoever of those. Let's say McTominay's probably going to be fit for the Chelsea game. I'm not saying he is, but let's say Ollie knows that, and he thinks, well, I'd probably rather play Fred and McTominay at the weekend, so I'll play Galbraith with Matic. Or if he's not going to be fit, maybe you play him with Fred because Fred's got a bit more legs. You don't want to play Matic 3 times in a week. Who knows? But I think him, I think Diallo, I think maybe a couple more, depending on how he wants to do it, can fit into this team with us still having not just a chance of not losing 5-0, because obviously that's ridiculous, but still having a good go and winning the game and, hopefully winning the tie 6-7-1, something like that. But I'd like to see him play, and he's a promising youngster, and I mean, now's as good a chance as any that he's going to get, because like we said, we've got 3 injuries to midfielders. We've basically got 2 fit first-team midfielders, and if you're ever going to get a chance, now's the time, and hopefully he gets it, and hopefully he can take it.
No, I agree. Vikas Nataraja,
there you go.
Forgive me if I butchered your name, in the
chat
chat, says Galbraith has been playing at centre-back for the under-23s due to a shortage at the back. He also said, I think he went on to say, seen him, he's a good player, but he gives the ball away a lot. I've not seen a lot of him. I know that Dave Pritt absolutely loves him and raves about him and thinks he's ready. So, and I do trust Dave's judgment on that. He's quite, he watches a lot of the under-23s and the academy teams. And
Do you say clued up or clued in?
I always say clued up.
I did
Clued up. Did I
Some
say
people
clued?
No, some people say clued in, don't they?
Clued in.
It's quite clued in.
It's quite clued in. He's quite clued up. Well, anyone who says clued in is an idiot. Right. Should we move on?
Yeah, probably for the best, eh? Some people idiots.
Juan Mata.
Ever heard of him?
I love Juan Mata.
Yeah, me too.
He's probably my second favourite player in terms of how much I love players at United. He's my second favourite.
Favourite being Marcus.
You got to love Marcus, haven't you?
Marcus Rashford, that is.
Marcus Rashford. He's just. Someone in the chat was saying, forgive me if I can't remember your name, was saying, why doesn't Marcus Rashford get any praise on this channel? Believe me, he does.
Yeah.
What's the matter? Is the question mark? Do you remember that? Bit too young for you, aren't you, Joe Dolce? What's the matter, you? Hey, why are you looking like that? Hey, why are you looking so sad? Forget it. Juan Mata's not been getting any games.
Shut up your
Right.
face, will you?
Yeah.
He's come back. He knew it.
Boom! Do you know what? I love that. You sold me. I thought you hadn't got a clue what I'm on about. You absolute diamond. Right. You've redeemed yourself after the early debacle we won't go into. It says there on the graphic, as you can see, again, like these players that we moan about, or that we're not that, don't get much, well, not don't get lucky, but that seem maybe surplus to requirements. I wanted to buy some pretty good teams. Juve, Inter, and Roma are chasing Juan Mata contract agreement. Okay. Mata is out of contract at the end of the season, although United do have the option of triggering an additional year in his deal. That's from the Manchester Evening News. Now, I know what you're thinking, Jay, why are you reading stories from Manchester Evening News? The Evening News published the lottery numbers and they were mine. I'd throw away my ticket. Let's put it that way. Joe.
What?
If the Evening News
Go on.
published the lottery numbers and they were mine,
Right.
I'd throw away my ticket.
I love that.
Because
That's how unreliable
they are.
I get it.
Thank you.
I get it.
But there seems to be some sort of fire to the smoke, because I keep hearing or seeing stories that Juan Mata is wanted. Still a very good player. Obviously, he's not been playing a lot for Manchester United, but that doesn't mean that other clubs wouldn't want him. And if you look at those clubs, Inter especially, well, you can throw in Roma as well, they've taken our players before who we haven't really wanted, and they've done rather well.
Yeah, it's a different league, isn't it? It's weird, though, because at some point, you're feeling like all the best teams in Italy with players who have been, like you said, somewhat surplus to requirements in England. Like, how good can that league be, really? Like, I mean, even Zlatan, I'd add him to the list of players who, obviously a fantastic player, great ability. I mean, we don't need to go on about how great Zlatan is, but he looked a bit done at United that second when he came back. Then he went to America for over a year, and now he's in Italy as one of the top scorers. You think, what's going on over there? It's no coincidence that no Italian team has won the Champions League in 10 years, I don't think.
When's the last time?
I think it's Inter in 2010, I think, is the last one.
Is that what it is with
Yeah,
Jose?
then it was Barca and Madrid forever, and then Barca won another one, and obviously Liverpool won one, and Bayern Munich have won a couple in that time as well. Chelsea won one. I don't think an Italian team's won it in 10 years. And then before that, it was another 5 years before.
Yeah, because Juve got to a couple of finals, didn't it? But they it didn't happen.
No, so it's strange that league is it's not being clogged or being filled with it by any means, because there's a handful of players or so that have gone over there. But even the likes of Victor Moses getting a contract at Inter Milan, who are one of the best teams in Italy now, you just think, surely Juan Mata's, or surely that league must be of a standard that is not necessarily up to England. But that's no problem for us and no problem for Juan Mata, and going to a big team and playing there I think would be great for him. And I do think, especially if we do, as we'll come on to, sign a right winger or sign someone like Jadon Sancho, I think Mata's already limited game time would become scarce, to say the least. So maybe now would be the right time for him to go.
Yeah, and the whole you got an extension, keep him around, he's a good influence. I get that, but I don't think he's that good an influence that you keep him for another season. I feel like this season was the season to keep him around the squad and to use him sparingly or whenever you need him, sort of. And he's a good professional, and obviously you can bring him into certain games like the one tomorrow night probably, and he'll do a job. I don't know if a year on that's still the case. There's a lot of love for the late night live, Joe. People saying bring back the transfer seagull, loving the puns and all that sort of stuff.
We'll see when the transfer window reopens. We'll see whether late night live makes a special
exclusive
return.
There you go.
There you go, you bastard.
Potential return of late night live. Got to give the people
specials. We said I might do some specials. You know what I mean?
What does he mean?
As in like one-offs.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Hey,
Christmas special.
Christmas special. There you go. In the middle of the summer, obviously for the transfer window.
Yeah,
but
Christmas is in summer if you're in the southern hemisphere. You Dalek.
Oh, yeah, isn't it?
You absolute Dalek, mate.
I'm just not very clued in. Right, let's have a look. What else have we got? United monitoring Dybala.
Ooh.
Do you know what?
Look at that picture of him. What is that, Sports Day or what?
Oh. Is it me or does he got... He just looks like... I love when I was punching him in the face in that picture.
Jay!
I like the guy.
Face?
I don't know, he just looks so... Just don't know. Smug in that. Anyway, forgive me.
Would you be
watching
smug
Paulo.
if you were on 250 grand a week at 19 or whatever it was on?
Yes, to be fair, I would. Again, though, the Paulo Dybala rumours just never seem to go away, do they? No. These were doing the rounds a couple of years ago, and to be fair, at one point it looked like it was going to happen. Apparently, we were in serious talks with him. It was around the time of when Pogba was going to go. I'm not. Face. I'll just look there because I had to look over the camera to see his face, and he just looks proper. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
He looks like he's been a right dickhead.
Yeah.
And then he's smiling at you because he knows that his dad's
like
one of the head teachers, and you can't have a go or push him.
Yeah.
Like that. Sorry, did I scratch your bike on the wall by accident? You're like, yeah, I know you did it on purpose, Paulo. I know you did it. All right. Well, just tell my dad then, will you? Oh, I won't. Oh, okay, I won't then. Sorry, I know your dad's really powerful and that. He's got that look to him. Rich kid. He's probably not a rich kid. I mean, he is now, but I don't know if he came from that. Fucking scratch my bike again, Paulo. You get battered, mate.
Yeah.
Not by me, by someone hard.
Yeah. There you go. That's what we think of you and your transfer. I think we've covered that extensively.
Yeah, United are maybe monitoring. They're monitoring thousands of people, aren't they?
The trouble with Dybala
I don't get out of bed for monitored, Jay.
I know. The trouble with Dybala is, I feel like his sort of critical moment, or the moment when he was most likely to happen, was 2 years ago. Yeah. And I don't think anything since then has convinced me that we should get him now.
No.
He's gone a little bit backwards. I know you can argue, well, Cristiano Ronaldo's the main man there and whatever. But apparently 2 years ago, his wage demands were, even by United standards, and we like to throw lots of wages at people, were astronomical. And we just felt it was a little bit like an Alexis Sanchez type scenario. Didn't really want to come unless we gave him a load of money. And we were like, for someone who's never played in the Premier League, it's not nailed on that he's going to come here and do what we need him to do. No. It was a risk not worth taking. So, yeah, I don't see that one happening.
Me neither.
But one I do see happening.
Oh, here we go.
Nailed on. Put your money on it. 100% is Erling Haaland coming to Manchester United Football Club.
We excited or
what? Do you know what? I'm tentatively optimistic.
Let's talk about what's actually been said here then. So,
yeah.
It was talking on the Athletic. It was David Ornstein, who's very reliable, and Laurie Whitwell, who's reliable himself as well, both talking about Manchester United, saying that essentially Erling Haaland is the player that United want above anyone else. He's the number one target. He's the guy. If he's available, if we can get him, he's the man. Which for me is fantastic to hear. Because I mean, we talked a little bit on the members video earlier about him or Sancho, and putting that debate to one side, he is about as perfect a signing for Manchester United as you can possibly get, alongside probably Sancho. Like, he's an incredible player who Ole has been speaking about. He says that he still speaks to him, he still talks to him, he likes him, and the comment where he said, we wish him well there at Dortmund, and then let's see what life will bring later on. Do you know who that sentence reminds me of?
No.
That reminds me of like Pogba's brothers. Would say, he's at Man United for now, but let's see what'll happen. Yeah. And when people used to say that about Pogba, United fans used to go, fucking hell, that means he's leaving, what are we saying that for? And yet when Ole says it about an actual player we want, everyone's going, what are you saying we talk about Haaland for? You're dreaming.
This is the thing, because it says here, I can't speak because he's with Dortmund, and it's disrespectful to talk too much about it. Well, you are doing.
Yeah. Oh, but everyone... I won't talk about it.
Disrespectful to do what I'm doing right now.
Everyone would say they would take one of the best players in the world. We wish him well at Dortmund. And then after that...
Yeah, let's see what life will bring later on.
Right. So
do you know what that reminds me of, actually?
What?
In that similar vein was Ronaldo in 2009. You know, I'm here at United and that's where I am at the moment. Will I be there in the future? Who knows? Only God knows.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Yeah. What are you on about? Just commit.
It's very clear that Ole wants to sign Erling Haaland. It was clear last summer that he wanted to sign him. And again, we've got very reliable journalists in David Ornstein and Laurie Whitwell saying United want to sign Haaland. And there was a talk in there, and we'll talk a bit more about it later on, of the way United may prioritise a signing. But if we can get Haaland, first of all, we have to try and get him.
Of course.
And second of all, it seems as though we will try and get him.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at it 2 ways. You can look at it as Ollie's just being asked and he's talking about a player that obviously he knew when he was at Molde and he's one of the world's best players. Or you can look at it that Ollie's trying to sort of send a signal to the board as well, like, look, this is my guy, this is the one I want. I know I'm prepared to go almost public with it. Sending a signal to Haaland as well, how keen he is on him. It just seems like Ollie's sending out a lot of signals, and I think anyone who's watched Erling Haaland this season especially would love to see him at Old Trafford, especially as well when you look at some of the issues we've had around the number 9. Yes, we've got Cavani, but he's 34. Yes, we've got Andy Martial, but his form's just deserted him. So Erling Haaland coming in, I mean, he walked straight into the Manchester United team. And, you know, I don't think there's a Manchester United fan on the planet who wouldn't love to see him in a red shirt. We've also got Mino Raiola, who's been talking for once. It's about time, isn't it?
About time.
He never says anything, does he? He's so media shy. He says, whenever I say my opinion, everybody in England goes berserk, and I'm the worst agent or the best. It doesn't matter. 50% love me, 50% hate me, or 80% hate me, 20% love me. Well, his maths is pretty spot on, I think.
Great,
quite accurate.
maths. It's like a quiz, that, isn't it? Either 50% love me or 50% hate me.
Yeah.
Or 80% hate me and 20%
He could have smashed it there. He could have said, 80% hate me and 30% love me.
Yeah, that'd have been good.
Hey,
At least he knows what 100 is, and that's the whole.
Can probably help with
It's
my...
stupid how he's like, every time I say something, people get offended. You're like, yes, because you say annoying things that other people don't say.
That are offensive.
Yeah, the reason why people get offended, I mean, someone will get offended at pretty much anything anyone can say. But when people get offended en masse, it generally is because you are saying something that is out of the ordinary or inflammatory. And the fact that you have a reputation across football fans from all teams as being a dickhead who says shite all the time, maybe it's not us and perhaps it's you. If everyone thinks you're offensive, everyone thinks you're a dick, it's not like, they're all so sensitive, Man United fans, because anytime I say something, they get offended. Well, that's because you keep saying shit that other agents don't say about players who play for us and who play for all teams. He's well known as being an arsehole by everyone.
And it's not just what he says, which is annoying enough, like you say, he's a dickhead. It's the fact of when he says it. Was it before the Leipzig game?
Yeah.
And he's coming out with all his nonsense about Paul Pogba. And like when it just was completely unnecessary, and it upsets sort of a lot of people. And you're thinking, is this really what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has to be dealing with now on the eve of an important game? A game it turns out we lost and went out of the Champions League. I'm not saying it's down to that, but it doesn't help. No. It doesn't help the narrative, and it's like, Raiola causing mischief again. You can see there what he's talking about as well on Haaland. He says, only a maximum of 10 clubs can afford to buy Haaland and give the platform you would like after you've been in Dortmund. And 4 of those clubs are in England.
Let's name them, shall we? Man United, Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea.
Reading, Winners,
Taplow. Yeah. And maybe Newcastle once they get bought out by these imaginary billionaires that they're linked with.
It's quite interesting because...
So they're the 4 in England. Let's finish the... Oh, go on, sorry, go on.
No, go on. You've got City...
Let's finish with the 6. So, City, United, Liverpool, Chelsea.
Right, go on.
Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus.
Barcelona, really? They're skinny, aren't they?
He said 10. Bayern Munich?
Yeah. Well, they love to... Anyone who does well in Germany, Bayern Munich go, well, we'll have him.
Atletico?
No, I can't. Maybe.
And
PSG, yeah.
Atletico spent 120 million on João Felix.
Yeah, they have spent.
So there's your 10.
The only thing with the ones in England, with City, there's a bit of an issue there, isn't it, with Guardiola and Raiola?
Is there?
They don't get on at all. It's a sort of Fergie level.
It's because United fans are so easily offended, isn't it?
Yeah,
probably.
yeah.
Well, he's falling out of it.
Yeah, apparently there's a big thing there. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure if there's a £120 million deal on the table, they can put the differences aside. Also, as well, I don't know if that's a City-type signing, in terms of, or a Pep Guardiola-type signing, an out-and-out striker who's 120 million. I know they spend a lot of money, I'm not saying they don't, but I don't know if that's the type of player that they go for.
To that kind of money.
No.
I think the record signing is Riyad Mahrez at like 70.
Yeah,
so
and also...
that's a huge chunk more.
Pep doesn't tend to go with those type of... I mean, the only issue Pep's ever really had with players have been like Zlatan and Eto'o and players like that, who was sort of in a similar mould. So I don't know if he's going to go for him.
Toure.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go there. We all know why. Also, as well...
Do we? Slander.
Allegedly, supposedly. Also, the Scousers, are they going to go massive on Erling Haaland? Do you think that's an option?
Again, you can't imagine it. I'm sure they're going to be looking to sell a couple of their players this summer. Miraculously, one of Salah, Mane and Firmino, I'm sure, will leave at the end of the year because they're not doing very well and they're going to try and rebuild, I would guess. The thing as well, and we've mentioned this in other videos, but for anyone who isn't aware, Haaland has a buyout clause that is activated next summer, 2022, of around 70-ish million quid. So basically next summer, if someone bids 72 million quid, they kind of have to accept it, and then from there, Haaland can do the negotiating with clubs and he can pick who he wants of the teams that offer at least that fee. But if they sell him this summer, there is no buyout clause.
Yeah.
So they can sell him for as much as they want to sell him for.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's probably... what would you say Haaland is worth if he had no buyout clause at any point? You'd probably have to say around the 120, 130 million mark.
I think he's world record fit.
Yeah, 150 million.
Yeah.
That kind of crazy...
The only thing that
may
may sort of change that is because if you look at COVID and the effects it's had, maybe taking off like 20%.
But he's well over 100 million, isn't he?
Yeah, 100%. But maybe he's taking off a little bit because clubs don't quite have that spending power, other than maybe PSG, who've just got unlimited money, and City, if they did decide we're going to change tax and really go for it. But Chelsea, perhaps they've spent a lot of money recently. They could feasibly go for him.
But yeah, so he's got that transfer. He's got that fee next summer that is activated, that clause. If they want to get any more for him than 72 million, they have to sell him this summer, which a point that a lot of us know, and I've said before. And sorry if I'm repeating myself, but that's just one reason why I think they might actually sell him this summer.
Because aren't they a bit skinned?
They don't have a lot of money.
Yeah, because I think they need to cash in on
well,
a few
it's
of
no
their
wonder they don't
assets.
have a lot of money. They never fucking win anything. People
this.
keep going
Go
on
on.
about them.
Preach,
it
brother.
does my head in. I keep saying it. Does my head in. Oh, why would Bellingham choose United over Dortmund? Dortmund get to the what? Get to the quarter-final of the Champions League every year, then get battered and don't win anything domestically. Good for them.
It's not 1997 anymore, is it?
One trophy in 8 years.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah, exactly.
Was it 97?
Something like that when they won the Champions League.
When the Champions League knocked us on, I think.
Forget it.
Yeah, exactly. Living in the past. United a future.
But I like that United are after Haaland, and I like that we've maintained our interest
do you think
in him, and Ole's clearly
I mean, there's
interested.
lots of ifs and buts here, but when we didn't get him, I was fuming. And listen, we all love Odi Nagalo, but let's not kid ourselves. Not getting Erling Haaland and getting Odi Nagalo is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. I think, Haaland got more goals in the half season he was at Real Salzburg than Igalo did in a year at United.
Well, there you go then. I mean, it was nonsensical to sort of think that was almost as good as, that made up for it. It just didn't. But I think one of the problems was this buyout clause, and United were like, oh, we're not going into that because someone's just going to take him off us within a year or two. If we end up getting him after all that, obviously, without that buyout clause in, and we'll spend a lot more money, but we've got him and we can have him for a few more years, then that will be like a stroke of genius. But again, there's a lot of ifs and buts in that. And we are going to have to, looks like, go into a bit of a bidding war with a few other players. I think we're just going to have to woo him. And I think Ollie, to be fair with Ollie, with Raiola, I think he's handled it quite well. Because I don't think Ollie's got into any war of words with him. And Raiola said a lot of nonsense, and he said some nonsense about Solskjaer as well. But Solskjaer sort of sidestepped it all, left it all alone. So that I think there is a sort of a working relationship there.
Yeah.
Whereas there wasn't with Sir Alex Ferguson, and he may have gone to the dogs with Pep Guardiola. But Ollie's not really got into a slanging match with him, so hopefully they can still work some out. And let's face facts as well, they've got to, because Paul Pogba's still a Manchester United player and he's represented by Raiola, so there's going to be some conversations going on there. Should we talk about Jadon Sanchez?
Go on.
The other
Dortmund fella.
The other Dortmund fella. Mm-hmm. I mean, yes, he says it there in the graphic. The Sancho saga continues.
We're not gonna be rid of this until he leaves Dortmund for somewhere, whether that's United, Madrid, PSG, City, whoever it is. Whilst Jadon Sancho is at Dortmund, United are going to be linked with him.
Yeah, I mean,
and we're going to get our hopes up.
And I can completely understand that, because there was obviously real interest there last season, and it almost happened because there's so many people reporting it. There were so many stories coming out that it was just not everyone could have just been making this up or been misled. United obviously wanted Jadon Sancho. Jadon Sancho was obviously keen on the deal. It was the fee that was a sticking point, and obviously it's a big sticking point because that's what brings a player to a football club. Dortmund wanted 130 million euros, I think it was. United were only willing to go to about 90, and they never got close enough to really get it over the line, or look like getting it over the line if you really scratch beneath the surface. You can see from the graphic there, though, United is still very interested in completing the deal this summer. United's deal to sign Amad Diallo, of course, has obviously complicated matters, but reports in Germany seem to suggest Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is still keen. Are you still keen, Joseph Smith?
Yeah, I'm still really keen on him. We haven't got any right wingers, Jay. And Diallo comes in and has potential and has a chance to try there. But let's be honest, unless Diallo is going to be one of the best players in the world,
Yes.
he won't be better than Jadon Sancho for certainly 2 or 3 years. Because of where Sancho is now, the age difference, how developed he is, how many games he's played for a first team, Diallo would have to improve so rapidly that the idea of getting Sancho, that the idea of not buying Sancho is like almost... He would have to improve so rapidly to catch Jadon Sancho in the space of one contract with Sancho that he would become one of the best players in the world and wouldn't need Sancho anyway.
Right, okay.
But otherwise, get them both. Like, Sancho's well ahead of him with his development at the minute. You've got a long time until Diallo catches him up. Even if in 3 years Diallo's playing ahead of Sancho, just sell Sancho. Like, I'm not. Again, it's about being cutthroat and about getting someone in who works. And he clearly would be the right player. No, we can't say he'll clearly be the right player. He's clearly the player United want. He's clearly the player who ticks the most boxes from afar. Because you can never say someone's going to come in and get this, and this, especially from Germany, like we said before. But if United want him, it's not like we go, oh, we've got 2 or 3 really good wingers already. We've already got Nani, a 28-year-old Nani, and we've got a 26-year-old Valencia. We haven't got any right wingers. No. Except Diallo, who, as I've already said, has so much improving to do that it's going to be a long time before he passes Jadon Sancho, if he ever does. I just think it could prove to be a sensational bit of business from United if we didn't buy him last summer because the fee was too high, and then we go back in this summer and we get him for 50 million quid less than it would have been last year. If we can get him for 70 million quid, fantastic, and it looks really good. But if we're just getting dragged along for year after year after year after year to only not sign anyone because he's the target but we don't want to pay enough, then you just look stupid. So there's a potential for us to come out of this looking good. But at some point, whether it's Sancho or not, we have to sign a winger. We can't just be trying to be one of the best teams in the world, the richest team in the world, and not have any right wingers at the club.
And we can't rely on Marcus to play right wing. We lose too much of what he does best on the left hand side. And Dan James, listen, he's had some good games and I like the kid, but he's not a regular first team footballer for Manchester United. I think the best he's going to be is a squad player. Happy to be proven wrong one day on that one, but I just don't see it. Do give us a like as well if you're watching, guys. It's all popping off in the comments with these golf puns. Ronaldo Brown's just got involved.
What's he said?
G-Swung Park.
That's nice.
From him as well.
Swung.
I reckon he's Googled that.
Yeah, me too.
But no, well done, Ronaldo. Keep
really
going,
good.
son. I'm proud of you. What else have we got? Yeah, that's Joe summed it all up there with Jadon Sancho. We don't need to go into any more details on that because we've spoken about Jadon Sancho a collective amount of time of about 642 hours.
Yeah.
Since the summer
but we
on
still
this
want
channel,
him.
but we still want him.
And that's the thing, we're going to be talking about him and Haaland for
forever,
at least until summer.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to
daily.
It. You know what? I am looking forward to it because no matter how many times you talked about him, there is still an excitement that comes with the potential of big transfers, isn't there?
Yeah, I love the fact that when me and you did this with Maka on deadline day, even at 2 minutes to 11 or whatever it was,
Shut up, Jay.
you were still holding up hope that Jadon Sancho. And when Sky were going, we've got an announcement, you're like, it's going to be it. And it was like, United have signed Facundo Palestre.
Yeah, they call him the Sancho of South America. You dickhead.
No, they don't. You do.
Well, I do. I thought we may still have a chance. I thought it might be one of those secret ones. Like, you know when someone turned, like a magician pulling a little, like, flowers out of his sleeve? I thought we might be one of Sancho.
You thought it was happening. Well, the joke's on you because he signed this morning. We've got a super chat. Liam Cook says, I think it's possible to get both Haaland and Sancho this summer.
Can you even imagine that, Jay? I don't think it's possible. I mean, it's possible. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think they'd want to sell them both. But again, if they get 200 million, we'll give you 200 million for both of them. I'm sure that, I'm sure they wouldn't. No, we don't like 200 million quid. If we offered that, you
make a good point because they could either not have 200 million quid and finish the season trophyless, or have 200 million quid and finish the season trophyless. Yeah.
What do you
Either
want?
way, they're going to finish the season trophyless because that's what they do, as you've pointed out.
Yeah.
So why not have 200 million quid for your troubles?
For your troubles and be, financially secure through what is probably another 2 years of COVID.
Jude Bellingham is amazing, so you don't even need Sancho and Haaland anymore.
Yeah.
Stop being thick.
I think at some point they're going to want to sell them, and it's almost a stick or twist time with Sancho, isn't it? Because he's probably lost a decent chunk of his value because he's a year closer to the end of his contract. He hasn't been quite so good this year. The cracks are starting to show in that Dortmund team. I think last time I checked, they were 7th or 6th. I'm not sure quite where they're up to now, but they're certainly not having they're not remotely challenging for the title this year, which is, they like to do that up until about January.
I'm having to go into the Seymour arrow on my table there, the 6th.
Yeah.
But you look at last season when Bayern Munich won the lot, and it was like, we spoke to a lot of German journalists and they were like, exactly, and they were like, Dortmund, they're going to go for it this summer, they're going to go for it this season because it's really hurt them, the way that Bayern Munich have won everything, and belittled them as well in some of the comments they were making and the CEO was making, and they've just gone backwards.
Yeah, and then you get a manager in that no one's ever heard of at Bayern, which not to say is not very good, but all of a sudden they've won 6 trophies in a year. Every single tournament they were in, they won it. It's like, oh yeah, cheers Dortmund. So yeah, hopefully they're willing to sell at least one of them. I'm sure they are, and ideally both. I mean, if we got both, I would say we would be, depending on how the rest of the season goes, if City win the league by 20 points, it's still going to be difficult. But you'd have to say, if we got both of those players, United would be as close to title favourites as we've been in, half a dozen years at least.
I agree. I think that's a massive... I think Haaland on his own is a game changer.
Me
but
too.
Both of them, I think, then, it's a different kettle of fish, like you're saying, and depending on where City finish, you'd fancy us for a very strong title challenge next season. We've touched on... hang on a minute before we move on to that. Kingsley Coman. Now, this is a funny one, right? Because United tag it, you see there in the graphic. Kingsley Coman. I remember Mitten mentioning Kingsley Coman about a year ago, saying United, he's on our radar, and the club are interested in him, and he's being looked at as possibly an alternative to Jadon Sancho, or just another signing that the club might to make. And loads of people giving him pellets for it, saying he's talking rubbish, because I know the Sancho news blew up, and it was like Jadon Sancho looked like he was about to sign. So like, oh, obviously we're not in for Coman. Well, you don't know what you're on about. And he was like, listen, he was on a shortlist, and it transpires it's true, because Mitten knows his stuff. He's a very reliable journalist. He's always been on our radar. He's been linked with us quite heavily at times. You can see there from the graphic, he wants to stay at Bayern Munich. Whether they want him to stay is another matter, but it doesn't look like we're going to get him anytime soon. I mean, did you ever expect Kingsley Coman to be coming to Old Trafford?
No, and I like him, but I don't particularly want him. And again, there was a weird thing, like, I know he scored the goal in the Champions League final, and great, and he helped win the trophy and all that sort of stuff. He's a good player. But I wouldn't, he's a left winger. He wants to play on the left hand side, and he's not starting ahead of Marcus Rashford in terms of quality or in terms of anything. And there you see,
the graphic there. You see, as the Bayern Munich winger, Kingsley Coman wants to remain at Bundesliga leaders this summer, but believes his next move will be to a top Premier League club, Man United and Man City. Previously been linked with a 24-year-old. I mean, it's almost meaningless, that, isn't it? He wants to. One day he might come to the Premier League. City and United have been linked with him. Do you see either of us going for him, or do you see United going for him?
No, I don't.
Probably not. We sort of mentioned this earlier. You were talking about Ornstein, Ask Ornstein on the Athletic YouTube channel. If you've not checked them out, go and check out their YouTube channel. Or some good stuff on there. I like Laurie Whitwell and like David Ornstein, 2 reliable guys. You know what they're talking about. I think it was Ornstein was saying that United will only make 1 major signing this summer. I think when he was saying that, it wasn't like 1 signing. I mean, when he made major, I think you're sort of talking there, aren't you?
Yeah.
Like,
what he said, David Ornstein, was that United are going to identify which position that they want to strengthen most, whether that's a right winger, a striker, a defensive midfielder.
Oh, there you
Again,
go.
If they're gonna spend big, they are probably only going to be spending big in 1 position.
All right, so you can see, I don't think United are going to go around splashing 70 million on multiple players. It might be on 1, and then they might have to find some creative solutions in those other roles in what is a pandemic-affected market. This is the thing, because it is a bit of a game changer, isn't it, with the old pandemic.
It is, but we spent fuck all last summer.
I mean, I'm not making excuses for the Glazers.
Absolute parasites. 80 million last summer.
Yeah, something like that.
On 3 players. Like,
it's not like...
I get it.
They're still taking the dividends, aren't they? Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think we might have to temper our expectations, because whilst it's all nice going, maybe we'll spend 200 million quid on Sancho and Haaland, the likelihood is we'll get neither, and then we'll end up buying, Troy Deeney or someone on the deadline day. Do you know what I mean? And then we'll try and convince ourselves that it'll actually, if you look, he's got pedigree.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He's an handful.
Always an handful.
Yeah.
They were also talking on there, you see that centre-back could be the key area. Names like Koundé, I should say Koundé, I should say, not live. Varane and Mings have all been linked at various
Stevie
points.
Wonder been doing his graphics?
Yeah, I think he has, yeah. There was talk of these, and Laurie Whitwell was sort of questioned on which one of those do you think is the most likely. He said that the Varane one seems as though there is interest there, or certainly there has been interest down the years for Varane, which we kind of knew, but he may be offered the captaincy at Real Madrid if Ramos does leave. And Mings is another one, I think, there where they're talking about someone that hasn't really played in Europe. Again, he was on a list of players last summer.
Near the bottom of that.
You're not a fan of him?
No, I'm not. And I've seen this, and we've had discussions in the office, and quite a few people go, you know what, he's all right, Tyrone Mings. If you think you're all angry at Harry Maguire now, get Tyrone Mings in next to him, and I tell you what, see the outrage that you have every week when you're going, we spent 80 million on Tyrone Mings, or whatever it is it'll cost to get him. He's rubbish. Honestly, he's a decent centre-back, but we are not going to get better by buying someone like Tyrone Mings to go alongside Harry Maguire. Yeah. It's just, that is, at best, a sideways move. Yeah. If not a step backwards. Go on,
Koundé, the one who's mentioned there, that Laurie Whitwell said is the most likely, which again, you don't know how likely that is, and whether United want to spend big on a centre-back or not. But we spoke about him a lot on here. I'm sure a lot of you have seen us talk about him. I think he looks like a good player. None of us have seen tens, hundreds of games of Sevilla or him playing. But
it's all right to say that as well.
He looks like a good player from the highlights and the bits I have seen, and people who have seen more of him speaking about him all seem to think he's certainly got a lot of the characteristics of the sort of player Ole wants. Whether he comes in and does those things as well as we want him to in England, that's another matter. But he looks to be the one that, again, we're going to be talking about him into the summer by the looks of things. And again, it's almost like with every transfer that gets brought up or every player that United gets linked with, you see it all over Twitter, you see it in some of the comments, but more so on social media. Oh, what's the point? United aren't going to sign him, as if he'd go to United. Like, on everyone. United. Why would Tellers go to United? Why would Van der Beek go to United? He's going to go to Real Madrid. This. It's like United do sign players. We probably are going to sign one of the players we've been linked with in the last couple of months, because this is how football works. United sign loads of players.
Also, United are still the biggest club in England.
Yeah.
United, when fans are allowed back in, are still going to have more fans in the stadium than any other club. We've still won more titles than any other club. It's not like Manchester United are just some tin pot, team kicking around the bottom of the Premier League.
Yeah, exactly.
This whole nonsense of why would he go to United? Well, maybe he wants to play for one of the biggest clubs in the world, which United are. Ross Murphy in the Super Chat says, hello, Jay and Joe. I was listening to you, but we got caught with what happened with Tiger Woods. I thought we'd do some golf puns. # Late Night Live.
Interesting
Reason for doing it.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest.
Let's make a happy out of a sad.
Yes, that's one way of spinning it. I like the way you've done that. Is that it? Is that the last one there?
Yeah, we talked about this before. This is from the same article, the same video, that we've just been quoting. Again, talking about Haaland there. As we said before, he seems to be United's main target, or one of United's main targets this summer. It'd be so good, wouldn't it?
Are we right? If we sign him,
nothing like signing a big striker.
All right. Are we going down to Old Trafford to party? We've got one more here. There's more. United want Lautaro Martinez style
striker. Or United may want a Lautaro Martinez style striker.
Go on then.
Again, this is from the same video with Laurie Whitwell and
that video was only about 12 minutes long. I think they spoke about every player in Europe.
They did. They were keywording it. SEO'd it up. But the suggestion is maybe United want someone who's a bit more mobile, quicker, more agile, holds the ball up, brings other people into play, and then you think, hang on a sec, isn't that meant to be what Anthony Martial is? Because he's quick and holds the ball up well and brings other people in, supposedly. So there's a suggestion United may want someone like him. But again, we spoke about this before as well. He was set to go to Barcelona last summer for €100 million. Surely we're not going to pay that for him. No. And I know he's a decent player, but he's nowhere near as good as Lukaku for them. And we just got rid of him. Like, if you're getting outshone sensationally by Romelu Lukaku, who wasn't good enough for United, the idea that we may have to pay 100 million or thereabouts because that's what they've agreed in the past for him is ridiculous. Like, maybe, again, to be clear, David Ornstein does say, I'm not saying it would be Martinez, but maybe someone with his style. So I'm not saying it would be him. But I just think surely there's a handful of strikers that United would be interested in for a big amount of money, a large amount of money. And I don't think Martinez would be one of them, personally.
No, I agree. I mean, I've not seen a lot of him, but I know it's like you say,
he's a good player.
He's a good player, and if it was to be him, the sort of the fees that are being bandied about are just ridiculous, and it don't see that happening. The one player we want, the striker we want, is Erling Haaland. Let's not kid ourselves. Let's put all our eggs in the Erling Haaland basket.
The Earl of Haaland. Earl Haaland. That works. Write that one down. Squire.
I've made a mental note.
Thank you.
Anyway,
keep
on
that
that
special file that you do of Joe's good things. I know I don't know where it is, but you said you keep it.
Yeah, I've got.
There's loads of stuff in there now.
There's honestly, it's overflowing.
Where is it? You should let me see that at some point.
It's
like Joe's fun puns and stuff.
Yeah. No, I've got a. It's near the bins. Yeah.
All right. Maybe another time anyway.
You can hear more of Joe's fun puns on his late night live special he's going to be bringing back for Christmas, so make sure you check that out. Also,
only 10 months away. Fucking hell.
Also, if we've not done you any too much,
bins. Fuck's sake.
It's on the floor near the bins. That's where I keep it. Joe's fun pile of puns. If you've not had enough of us two, we've done a video for the members.
Yeah.
Members, if you go and check out, if you want to go and sign up to be a member, we're doing extra content on there, merchandise discounts as well. We appreciate all the support you've given us on the channel. And if you don't want to be a member, or if you can't be a member, and you want to see more of us again, because we've done about 18 videos today, me and him, that's what we do. We've done 3. Producer
Which
Cam
is about
saying
18
that.
if you divide it by 6.
Yeah, exactly. This is why I'm mint at homeschooling. We've done the preview for the Real Sociedad game.
And your phonics are getting really good, by the way.
Whoa! What's going on with that?
I've been homeschooling you, that's what he said.
Yeah.
We did it.
I was doing phonics today.
Were you?
Hey, Sammy the Snake and all that. Yeah, it's mint.
When we told you about that. No place for that in the classroom, lad. Right, that's going to be all from
Considering the
us
classroom is my kitchen with my own children, that's wrong on so many levels. Why is it at the end of every video we have the utter madness? Oh my god, we almost got through it without anything controversial, but you've ruined it as usual. I'm only joking. This has been Stretford Paddock Live. Listen, we appreciate all the support and all the chat, and it seems like you guys have been having your own little golf pun party there. So well done. Go and check out Joe on socials, Joe Smith 93, he's all over the Twitter. Go and check out our TikTok as well. Producer Cam and Alex Baggers have been all over TikTok. We're making loads of vids on there as well. We'll be back tomorrow with the watch along for the Sociedad game. Freddie Quinn.
Yes.
He's in the house. Me, you, and Freddie.
House favourite Freddie Quinn will be on the watch along.
Yes.
Hopefully come down and enjoy us. Maybe crack a beer or two for that one, because hopefully we can relax and have a laugh while we're watching that game. For once.
No early goals for Sociedad, and we'll be all right. Make sure you come and check us out for that tomorrow. That's been Joe, I've been Jay. This has been Stretford Paddock Live. Thanks for watching.
I'll put Sammy...